What's going on, everyone? This is Luke, and welcome back to another episode of the Miami Matters podcast. I'm here with my co-host Matt,
You.
and today we're going to talk about everything when it comes to the Miami playoffs. We're going to discuss the Heat. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about the Suns-Lakers series, just go over all the series, some more in depth than others. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. Go comment down below your thoughts on the NBA playoffs, on all the series going on, whether it's the Heat, the Bucks, the Suns, Lakers. Just give your thoughts and the opinions down below. If you're listening on one of our various podcast apps, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, we're on everything. We're on all of them. So if you're listening on one of those apps, go give us a good rating. That would be much appreciated. Now, Matt, let's start off with the Heat Bucks series, unfortunately, for me. I was at the game. I was at game 4. I was fortunate enough to attend the game. I had an extra ticket, and the atmosphere was amazing. It was really great to be back in the NBA stadium, especially one packed for the NBA playoffs. The Heat played pretty well in the first half, but I mean, in the back of my mind, I knew the Bucks were shooting very poorly, which is very uncharacteristic of them. And I knew once the Bucks started hitting their shots that the tide would be turned, and that the Bucks would start playing much better. So, Matt, let me hear your general thoughts on the playoffs, on the Heat Bucks series thus far.
Well, I mean, this really just went to show how important the offseason is and how you can't get complacent just because you had success in the past season. We saw the Bucks added Drew Holiday, they added Bryn Forbes, and those two were really such a huge difference in the series. And the Heat didn't add anyone. They got complacent. You know, they thought they could just come into the new season with the same exact team, and they paid for it. Mike Budenholzer learned how to make some adjustments. He put Jimmy on Giannis finally,
Mm-hmm.
and he struggled because of it. So we're just seeing the results of the teams getting lazy, and another team putting in work, and that's what happens.
Yeah, like me and Matt were talking about this before the podcast started. Bryn Forbes outscored Jimmy Butler series 60-58, which is crazy. I don't think anyone really foresaw that at all. You have to give a lot of credit to Mike Budenholzer. I'm surprised I'm saying this, but he outcoached Eric Spoelstra in the NBA playoff series. His adjustments were great. But Budenholzer really did a good job of hunting switches, just to get the shooters open. Really well coached series by him. And yeah, I think this series is really just a reflection on the off seasons that both the Heat and the Bucks had. The Heat, they made their finals run, obviously, and they got complacent. They chose to run it back. They opted to hold on to young guys such as Hero and Nunn. And yeah, they banked on internal improvement from the likes of Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Dr. Robinson, and it backfired on them. Compare that to the Bucks. They went out and traded for Drew Holiday. They went out and got Bobby Portis, Bryn Forbes. They traded for PJ Tucker in the trade deadline. They went out and were very active in making moves, and that's it. It really just was the main thing to take away from the series. How all these extra players for the Bucks ended up making such great contributions.
And Jimmy being outscored by Bryn Forbes, I think people are gonna get on Jimmy for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you should. Jimmy obviously has a part in it, but instead of getting on Jimmy, we should be praising Giannis's defense
Yeah.
because he won Defensive Player of the Year a year ago for a reason. He wasn't able to showcase it last year because of coaching, but you see when Giannis is one on one with Jimmy Butler, he had problems with him.
Mm-hmm.
In Game 1, Jimmy was forced to attempt 9 threes, which you never ever see Jimmy Butler shoot. So it just goes to show how good of a defender Giannis is. And I think he's underrated now because I don't see anyone talking about Giannis's defense, and I think that should be more a point of discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Giannis's name has really gone under the radar for Defensive Player of the Year this year, and he's really just been a fantastic defender. One thing that I was very surprised that he didn't choose to do is run Giannis through a bunch of ball screens. That's like one area of Giannis's game Giannis's defensive game, which I think has room for improvement. Is just his improvement on ball screens. He often gets caught up and is not a great trailer. So I didn't see the Heat do that. The Heat's offense was very unimaginative. They really just ran through 3 sets. They either ran a double drag to the likes of either Jimmy Butler or Goran Dragic. They love their dribble handoff series, whether it's through Bam Adebayo and Duncan Robinson or Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic, or a ball screen to the likes of Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, and Jimmy Butler. There was just no imagination within the offense, and the Bucks have a lot of length on that defense. They're very versatile, and it backfired. I mean, the Heat cannot do anything on offense throughout the series. We didn't see. It was crazy. I was listening in the car before I got to the game. The Heat put up 28 points in that first quarter, and that was the most amount they put up in a quarter throughout this entire series, which is just absolutely insane. I mean, the Bucks had them clamped up throughout the series. Brook Lopez, a phenomenal rim protector. A lot of that has to do with Bam Adebayo choosing not to take the mid-range shot. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? What were your thoughts on Bam Adebayo through this series?
I just feel like with Bam, sometimes he's playing at the All-Star top five center level,
Mm-hmm.
and then other times he's just out there, floating around, and he's not looking for a shot, which we
Yeah.
saw through games, mainly games 1 and 2. Game 3 and 4, he was more aggressive, but still not as aggressive as he should be. But when they're giving him that space, especially he's been shooting it all throughout the year, and he's been shooting it well. I don't understand why he's just not taking the shots that Brook Lopez is giving him, especially when if you play up like that with a guy as slow as Brook Lopez, as good of a rim protector as he is, Bam is way quicker than him. If he steps up on Bam, he has that easy drive by every time. And it'll be great penetration. Bam has great vision. He can kick it out to shooters. So I just felt like Jimmy needed help, and Bam didn't provide it for him.
Yeah, I mean, if Bam was able to start nailing those mid-range shots, that would just opened up so much for the offense. That would have forced Brook Lopez to step up, which would cause driving lanes for Bam. It would also provide cutting lanes for cutters. I mean, because Brook Lopez was just camping in the paint because Adebayo posed no threat outside of 10 feet or 8 feet, I should say. Uh, yeah, so coming into this offseason, he really needs to work on his shooting, work on becoming more comfortable with his shot. If he can add a 3-point shot, that would just be amazing. It'll just add so much to his offensive arsenal. And I mean, Bam Adebayo has really never been that guy on offense. Even in his college days, he was just a roller for John Calipari under Kentucky. He was just a screener roller his first 2 years for the Heat. We saw last year he was really starting to improve his offensive arsenal, and this season he was probably his first season where he really seriously started taking jump shots, and it's something that I think will continue to become more and more comfortable for him as time goes on. But it's something that the Heat really need Bam Adebayo to work on.
Oh, and I'm sorry, one more thing. For any Heat fans that are saying trade Bam or trade Jimmy
Oh
after
my,
the series, please shut up. Like, you are overreacting to the max. Like, if you're a Heat fan and you're overreacting that much, you need to support a new team or don't watch basketball because it's honestly ridiculous that you think after one playoff series that you should especially after we went to the finals last year, that you should trade your two best players. Like, calm it down. Like, y'all gonna be all right.
Heat Twitter was a wild place. I don't know if you're on it like that, but Heat Twitter is a wild fucking place. What I do have to say, you mentioned trading and acquisitions. I think the Heat. Well, it's okay. In my personal opinion, the only three players I think should be back, or let me say, the only four players I think should be back next year for the Heat are Adebayo, Butler, Duncan Robinson, and Dwayne Dedman. He's only 32. I think he still provides a lot as a backup center. But besides that, I am completely open to the entire roster being reconstructed. I would have preferred us to move Tyler Hero last offseason when his trade value was at the highest. You could have traded Tyler Hero for the likes of Drew Holiday, probably Zach LaVine. Tyler Hero's trade value after his bubble performance was so high. He had one of the highest trade values in the league for a young player, and it's plummeted since then. I mean, I would still consider him. I would still consider him an asset, but it's dwindling. His trade value is dwindling. It's going to continue on dwindling if he doesn't take that next leap, which I'm really not sure if he's able to take. So yeah, I would consider moving Tyler Hero. I'm not really sure which player you can get for Hero. One player that I really like that I think that may work is possibly a trade with the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic. If the Hawks want to acquire someone who coincides with Trae Young's prime a little bit more. But yeah, I think they may have to, they're gonna have to move on from Tyler Hero. His prime will likely not coincide with Jimmy Butler's dwindling prime. He's 32 next at the start of next season. And yeah, so Tyler Hero I think needs to be moved. I think they should let Kendrick Nunn go. It was reported the other day that he could acquire a contract up to 15 million. There's no reason why the Heat should end up paying for that. I don't think he's a starting caliber player in the playoffs. I don't expect them to accept not Tyler Hero. I don't expect them to accept Goran Dragic's team option. It's like 15 mil. No way that he accept that team option. And Andre Iguodala is getting older. Trevor Reeves is getting older. The entire roster just needs to be reconstructed. You know.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's get into the next series, which I want to talk about, the Suns versus Lakers series. Matt, what are your opinions on the Suns Lakers series thus far?
Well, obviously you see the LeBron and Anthony Davis takeover, which as I believe they're the best duo in the NBA. I think we saw this coming, but obviously it got made a lot easier with the Chris Paul injury. But I think this is something that, healthy Chris Paul or not, I don't think this Suns team was stopping a LeBron and Anthony Davis that are playing on this level. Like when you see LeBron, if you watch Game 3 especially, LeBron James was not. I think he may have taken one layup in the first half, and the Lakers were hanging in the game. LeBron is not taking this team seriously at all until in spurts. The second half, then LeBron got more aggressive, and he was looking for a shot more, driving to the rim, being LeBron as we knew he can throughout his whole career. But in that first half, he's playmaking, he's rebounding, he's getting Anthony Davis going. So, and if you watch it, Anthony Davis had more points than LeBron, but you felt LeBron's effect on the game when he started turning it up through his playmaking and his just the timeliness of his points. So that's great. And then you have Andre Drummond playing like he is now. I'm honestly one of the biggest Andre Drummond haters probably in the world. I think he's terrible.
He's
But
not
these
good.
past two games, Andre Drummond has been amazing. And he's not. The best thing is Frank Vogel was not playing him too many minutes. He's playing around 25 minutes, and he's doing his thing in those minutes because they're not asking him to do too much. When he starts getting the 30, 35 minutes range, he's going to have to defend more pick and roll. He's going to get lost, end up looking lost on offense. That's when you have those bad moments. But when he stays in those lower minute categories, he's rebounding, he's getting second chance points, he's hustling. He even had a good couple of defensive plays, which is rare for Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
So with him, AD, and the Lakers are getting under Devin Booker's skin. They're throwing him KCP, Caruso, Wesley Matthews, and they're doing a great job on him. While they may not be shooting well on the offensive side of the ball, they're giving Devin Booker hell on defense. So
Yeah.
that's all you can really ask for them. LeBron and AD, hopefully you got to carry the offensive load. It sucks that Chris Paul isn't healthy, but you play who's in front of you, and the Lakers are getting taking care of business.
Yeah. So no, just speaking on Andre Drummond for a second. I think he has to be one of the worst pick and roll defenders I've ever seen. His drop coverage is horrible. It's bad to watch. It's really bad to watch. Yeah, so I picked the Suns to win in 6. Um I'm not really sure if I want to stick by that prediction. Um I didn't watch game 3. I had something going on, but from what I've seen in game 1 and game 2, the Suns really need to get Jay Crowder going. He was their top 3-point shooter throughout much of the regular season, and I think at one point through game 3, he was like 1 for 20 for the series, like 4%, which is horrible. They really need to get Jay Crowder going. Obviously, I didn't factor in Chris Paul's injury when making my prediction. And the Suns, I don't think the Suns are done yet. They have a very talented backcourt, obviously, with Paul and Booker. I really like Michael Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder. Like I said, they need to get Jay Crowder going. DeAndre Ayton has played very, very well thus far during the series. I think game four will tell a lot. If the Lakers end up winning game four, I think it's over in five. If the Suns are able to steal game four, then it's a completely new series with game five heading over to Phoenix, a 2-2 series.
And one underrated thing about Phoenix is Cameron Payne has been giving them amazing minutes off the bench. Like,
Yeah.
it gets to the point in the second with Chris Paul's injury that they don't even play Chris Paul, not because he can't go anymore, but Chris Paul, with him being hindered, Cameron Payne is literally playing better than him. Like he had a run. Game three would have been a complete blowout if it wasn't for Cameron Payne. He hit 3 straight threes, went on a 9-0 run by himself in the fourth quarter, and basically single-handedly brought them back in the game. So he's been giving them great minutes instead of Chris Paul. Obviously, it doesn't make up for Chris Paul's effect, like what he's done for that team. But Cameron Payne has been really good for them in that instead of Chris Paul.
Yeah, and I think if the Lakers end up coming out on top this series, I think they're going to coast the finals. I don't think there's really any other team in the West that poses much of a challenge to the Lakers. I mean, like the only player that I could see giving LeBron and AD trouble is Luka, and even then, I mean, the Mavs don't pose any sort of challenge to the Lakers. So, do you think the Suns steal a game, or are you saying the Lakers just win the next two?
I think Lakers will close it out in five. That's typically what they do with these, teams that they should beat. As we saw last year, they lose game one, and then LeBron and AD get tired of it, and they go win 4 straight. So, I think they'll get it done in five.
Yeah, so we'll game like I said, game four will tell a lot. I believe they play Sunday night, I believe. So yeah, we'll have to see on Sunday how that plays out. So the next series I want to talk about the Clippers versus Mavericks series. As a Heat fan, I am surprisingly rooting for the Mavericks, as hard as it is to say that, because I am still holding on to the glimmer of hope that Kawhi declines his player option and wants to move across the country to Miami. So I'm still holding on to that. But it's been a fantastic series to watch. I mean, you can argue that Kawhi and Luka have been the two best players throughout the playoffs. Paul George is playing great. He's really just destroying that pandemic P narrative. He's been playing very, very well. But yeah, so what are your thoughts so far on the Clippers Mavericks series?
Well, the thing with the pandemic P narrative is it's never going to go away. No matter until Paul George wins the championship, he could drop 30 every single game. It won't go away. Yeah. Especially if they lose this playoff series, which after game 2, you saw it. If you looked on Twitter in game 2, pandemic P was trending. Paul George didn't shoot well from 3 that game, but he was 11 for 22 overall, and he was 1 for 8 from 3.
Yeah.
But Paul George, if you watch that game, he had a great game. Besides excluding the defensive end, because there's nothing really they could do with Luka. Regardless of who's on him, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, it doesn't matter. Luka's just getting wherever he wants in the series, but that's something separate.
Yeah. Paul
George has been playing great this series. And, if you think otherwise, then, you're a Twitter troll, you're a hater. But, it's fun to clown Paul George because, he gave himself this nickname and he often doesn't live up to it. But this series, he's been playing great.
Yeah, I think people forget how much of a dog Paul George was in Indiana. Like, I mean, during those 2012, 2013 playoff runs he had with David West and George Hill and Tyler Hansbrough, he was that guy. He took LeBron, Wade, and Bosh all in their primes to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, playoff Paul George is a thing. He was a very, very cold player. He had a rough series with the Thunder. He obviously had the rough bubble playoff run with the Clippers last year. But yeah, I mean, Paul George has been playing very, very well for the last 3 games. I think the most amount of fun I've had watching the playoffs so far has had to have been that first half. And yesterday's game 3 versus the Mavericks, when it was just Kawhi, Paul George, Luka just trading buckets. I mean, they couldn't miss. There was one point in the game where Paul George and Kawhi were like 17 from 19 from the field, which is
Mhm.
insane. So yeah,
And
I mean, considering the Clippers, in my opinion, have a somewhat weak supporting cast, especially at the guard position, Kawhi and Paul George are really just gonna have to carry them.
yeah, and I think we really need to start having this conversation of, is Luka Doncic a top 5 player in the league? And
Let's talk about this. Actually, let's talk about this.
he's he's getting there for me. For me, I don't have him top 5 yet. I have him right outside of it. I have him at 6. My top 5 right now, I have LeBron at 1, Kevin Durant at 2, which I know is controversial now with
Mhm.
the
No, I
season
agree with
Steph
that
Curry
though.
had.
I agree with that.
I have Steph Curry at 3, and I have Kawhi at 4, just because Kawhi is proven, man. Kawhi has, you saw what he did in 2019, and even though he in 2020, last year during the Nuggets series, his only bad game was Game 7. So people give him more crap for that than I think they should. But he's been consistent. You see how great he is in this series.
Mm.
Number 5, I have Harden, because I just feel like Harden and Luka are basically kind of like the same player.
Yeah, they're very
But I just
similar.
feel like Harden has done it. Harden has his MVP. Harden has done it for a longer time and been more consistent with it, as we saw in Game 3 against Boston, what he can do. And I have Luka right there at 6, with him knocking on James Harden's door and Kawhi's door as we speak. Especially if he wins this playoff series, he'll definitely have something to say. Like, what
Yeah.
he's doing to this team is honestly ridiculous. He started off Game 3 with an 11-0 run by himself, or 8-0 run by himself, excuse me. And you just see he's extremely good for his age. He's 22, and he's giving Kawhi and Paul George a run for their money by himself. He has no other All Stars on his team. As you see, Kristaps Porzingis is 7-3, and all he wants to do is shoot jump shots. Tim Hardaway has been great this series, but he had a bad Game 3. So we're gonna see in Game 4 if Kristaps Porzingis comes out to play, and we'll maybe do a post move on a 6-3 player, or if he's gonna keep shooting fadeaways. And if Tim Hardaway continues to knock down his threes, Maxi Kleber continues to knock down his threes,
Mhm.
Dorian Finney-Smith the same, then we'll start seeing more what we saw in Game 2 and 3. But I mean 1 and 2, because the Clippers have no answer for Luka Doncic at all.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like before I get into the top 5 Luca thing, just talking about Kristaps for a second. He has to be one of the, I don't want to call him soft necessarily, but least physical big man I've ever seen. Like it's weird too though, because I remember in New York, he was at one point like a top 10 rim protector in the NBA. He was actually a very good defender, but I mean, whether that's with the ACL injury, he's regressed as a defender. He's a liability on defense. And on the offensive end, yes, he's still a very good shooter, but I mean, he doesn't know how to take advantage of mismatches at all. I remember at one point, Reggie Jackson got switched on to Kristaps, and instead of putting Reggie Jackson's 6'1" ass in the post, Kristaps camped out in that mid to high post area and shot a post fade and missed when he has over a foot in height over Reggie Jackson, which is crazy. I think this offseason the Mavs really need to look into getting Luka a true second star, preferably in the backcourt, because you cannot count on Kristaps to be that second option. Not against that the top 5 thing with Luka. There was a notable name that you left off your list. Giannis? You don't have him in your top 6?
Not at all. Not even close. I think I have him more in like the 8-9 range. Giannis is great, but he's built for the regular season. With the series he just had, it was honestly mediocre. He doesn't even have to score. His defense is amazing, but I would definitely take Nikola Jokic over Giannis.
Mm,
I would take who am I missing here? Um, I think, but once you get through that, like the 4 through 10
yeah,
range in the NBA, it's kind of interchangeable. So I mean,
yeah.
if you have Giannis in your top 5, it's definitely not something like not crazy, but I just personally can't put him there with like his playoff performances. I can't put him, and I still have AD over him. I can't put Giannis with his playoff performances in my top five.
Yeah, you mentioned something on your Switch Talks TikTok that you said when healthy, Anthony Davis is the second best player in the NBA. Are you still backing that up?
With the season you said this, I said the second.
I remember you said the second. I mean,
I don't think
I
I said the
don't
second. I think I said the third or fourth,
third or fourth.
because I don't think I never put him over KD. Definitely not. I think I had him fourth. I think I had him fourth behind KD and Curry, because after that final series against the Heat and the game winners he hit,
Mhm.
Anthony Davis is looking like a different player. But that's when he was motivated Anthony Davis throughout the whole playoffs. This season, and in the game one, you saw he just comes out like lackadaisical. And, he's just chilling out there. So when Anthony Davis plays like that, and I can't put him in my top five, but he always has that ceiling in that next year that he can go to.
Mhm.
When he goes to, the Lakers are unbeatable. So
Yeah. Actually, I have the TikTok pulled up now. I'll play it. Let's see. Let's see what you said. Let's hear it too. I don't know what it says. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
All right, this tweet says, "What NBA opinion do you have that nobody agrees with?" And for me, it's that Anthony Davis is a better player than Giannis, bro. I've seen AD do it on the highest level. I've seen him do it in the finals.
All right. So you said AD is better than Giannis. Okay. All right. All
yeah,
right. I'll give you that. I guess I better someone else. Anyways, my top five. I got obviously LeBron at one. I got Steph at two, just because of the season he had. But I mean, it's listen, and with him and KD, it's really close and interchangeable. There's no problem with having KD at two. At
yeah.
four, I have Kawhi. Kawhi's still that guy, still super efficient, still one of the best defenders in the NBA. At five, I have Giannis. Even though he really hasn't performed up to that level in the playoffs, I mean, I think this is probably his best playoff series he's played so far.
Yeah.
I
Besides
think,
the Pistons,
but I mean, it's the Pistons. You
hey,
know what I'm saying?
everything counts, man. Everything
He had Andre Drummond on him. You know what I'm saying?
counts.
But yeah. So I have Giannis at five. At six, I think I put Anthony Davis at six. I want to say, and then I had Jokic at seven. Then I had Luka at eight. But I mean, Luka's on his way to becoming that top five player. I mean, he's just incredible. He has one of the best offensive arsenals in the whole entire NBA. He's not an athletic player at all. He's not quick footed. He's slow footed. I mean, even on his step backs, he's not really getting a lot of burst, but he really knows how to use his body well. So skillful, such a good passer. He has great vision, and yeah, I mean, it's really just a joy to watch Luka in these playoffs. Like I said, he's probably been the best offensive player so far. I mean, it's tough because like defensively he is limited in his ceiling. I think defensively is always so high. So as far as like while ranking the best players in the NBA, there's a certain level that you have to take into account when considering his defense. But yeah,
I
Luka's
think
just
I
yeah.
think Luca kind of makes up for his lack of defense with his playmaking, because
Mhm.
Luca is honest. He's definitely, I'd say, top three playmaker in the league right now. With how
Yeah.
it's compounded with how good of a scorer he is. His playmaking is just insane because he has so much gravity. You have to bring doubles. You have to respect his step back. He can shoot off one leg.
Mhm.
So the passes, not only is he a great passer, but the passes just become easier and easier for him with his shot making ability. And the one thing that he really, really has to work on is his free throws, man.
Oh
It
my.
sucks to see such an amazing shooter. You think he's literally shooting. He shot better from the field than he did from the free throw line last game.
You serious?
He shot 52% from the field and 48 from the free throw line. So
Whoa. Yeah.
I'm not sure what the
Wow.
problem is, like with how beautiful his shot is. I think the problem is I saw this on Ball Don't Stop.
Mhm.
He shoots the ball so high that it's kind of, with a free throw, you kind of have to shoot it. You can't shoot it like a normal, like a 3-pointer. You have that stroke. You can just flick it
Mhm.
like without any really, especially step back. You're using most of the strength that you can put on it. And he's
Yeah.
such a good 3-point shooter that he can't really seem to find that same range when he's just shooting a more simple shot. So hopefully he can figure that out. We give him an off season or two. He's still young, so he
Yeah.
should get better with it. But and especially it's dipped in the playoffs. I think he's shooting around 50% or maybe a little bit less.
Let me pull up his free throw shooting numbers in the playoffs.
Because
So
in the regular season, he shot 73%.
Yeah. So let's see here. Playoffs. In the 3 games, he is shooting 48% from the free throw line. Wow. Wait, hold on. A little sneeze come along. We're good. So yeah, he's shooting 48% from the free throw line, which is a 25% dip from the regular season. It's weird. We've also seen free throw problems from LeBron over the years. So it's weird how these just phenomenal NBA players tend to struggle on the free throw line. All right, so now to move on to our next series today, I want to talk about the Knicks-Hawks series. It's really been one of the best series to watch. It's really fun to watch the conflicting paces. We got the Hawks, super fun, high-paced, very high-powered offensive team. We got the Knicks, who are a slower pace, more defensive-minded squad. So it's been a really fun matchup to watch with a conflicting play style. Trae Young has proven to be a phenomenal playoff performer so far. He's really starting to take that next level into elite point guard status. And so I just want to ask you, Matt, what are your thoughts so far on Trae Young and the Hawks-Knicks series as a whole?
Well, I think the difference in this series is, you see Trae Young's Atlanta's best player has elevated his play in the playoffs, and Julius Randle, the Knicks' best player, has, his game has gone down in the playoffs. So
yeah,
Trae Young is looking like he's going to enter that. They have the tier 1 point guard, which obviously Steph Curry, and then you kind of have that tier 2 of Dame, Chris Paul, Kyrie, those type of players. I think Trae Young is, he's right there.
Yeah,
he's going to be in that tier 2 soon, especially if he keeps playing like this. His playmaking this series has been mind blowing, because when they take Trae Young's 3 away, he's not sitting here dribbling, looking for the 3 like he used to his first 2 years. But now he's getting downhill and he's looking for his floater. He's looking for his passes. And, he's turned into the best, in my opinion, the best lob thrower in the league. Him, John Collins, and Clint Capella he's throwing lobs before they're even open. And, he'll look like he's throwing it and he looks like he's going out of bounds. And here comes John Collins coming in. They just have that wavelength with each other. Their chemistry is so great, which it just makes Trae Young even more dangerous, because next thing you know, you think he's throwing a lob, and now he's throwing a floater. Now he's going to Euro step you. He's going to act like he's throwing a floater. He's kicking it to Bogdanovich or DeAndre Hunter in the corner. So, he's just been really just toying with the Knicks, just picking them apart like a surgeon. So Trae Young has really elevated his game. The people around him have elevated. Well, besides John Collins, he hasn't been playing great, but he's playing all right. Bogdanovich has had an amazing series. DeAndre Hunter is playing great. So the Hawks are looking like a great young team, looking to pull off. I think despite the Hawks being a higher seed, I feel like most people had the Knicks. I don't know whether that was because it's just the hype of what's around the Knicks.
Yeah.
But I think the Knicks were favored in the series, and Trae Young is, shutting them MSG fans up.
Yeah. I had Knicks in 7 initially, but after watching game 1, I had to make a switch on that prediction because, yeah, I mean, it's really incredible to watch. Like, I think you can make a pretty good argument for Trae Young being the best pick and roll ball handler in the NBA. I mean, like, what he's able to do off pick and roll is just incredible. He has so much chemistry with Clint Capella, like you're saying, such a good lob passer, but he also knows how to snake through ball screens. He's able to read the dropper tremendously. He always knows when to attempt a floater, when to drop the ball off. He recognizes the weak side help very quickly to kick it out to Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, or Bogdanovich in the corner. So, I mean, his processing speed is just incredible. It's incredibly fast. It's very hard to rush him. And we've seen the Knicks throw out a multitude of different schemes to mess with Trae Young. I mean, they double ball screens. They throw out multiple defenders, such as Reggie Bullock. Alfred Payne, who are both solid defenders. So the Tom Thibodeau, who's a phenomenal defensive-minded coach, has just been trying everything to slow down Trae Young, and it hasn't been working. So I mean, yeah, the Hawks have the 2-1 advantage right now. I think they play tomorrow, I believe, Sunday night. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, game 4 is a huge game in that series. The Hawks can take 3-1 advantage, or the Knicks could steal a game in Atlanta and then have home court advantage for the last 3. So we'll see. I mean, the Knicks really need Julius Randle to step up. He's been pretty much absent throughout this playoff run. He has been disappointing. And yeah, the Knicks really need their top 2 contributors, RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, to both step up.
The Knicks' lack of shooting has really been exposed. Like,
yeah,
their best shooter is Reggie Bullock, which he's an amazing shooter, but you would like other people in your starting five to be able to hit threes consistently. And Julius Randle was supposed to be that, but he hasn't been that throughout these playoffs. Derrick Rose can hit it when he's open, but he's not someone you're looking to take multiple threes a game. You obviously have Nerlens Noel, who's a great rim protector, but on the offensive end, he's not giving you much besides rolling in a lob threat.
Yeah.
But Obi Toppin has been decent. RJ Barrett's not a great shooter, so we're seeing the Knicks' offensive lack of offensive talent, I should say, coming back to bite them, and the Hawks for the most part just running them off the floor because they can't find a way to stop Trae Young.
And I mean, we saw in game 1. I'm not sure about game 2. It's not really coming to mind right now. But we saw Alec Burks really catch fire in game 1. It's not something that you can turn to consistently. Everyone saw this roster coming into the season and saw them as pretty much a bottom 5, bottom 10 team. Saw them as a lottery team. The Knicks, obviously, thanks in part to Tom Thibodeau's coaching, have been able to surpass expectations. Combine that with trading for Derrick Rose, the deadline, and they're able to make a playoff run. But some of that talent deficit is starting to bite them in the ass. They really don't have the offensive talent to just continually match what Atlanta has. I mean, Atlanta, they got Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, John Collins. They have Clint Capella as a roller. They're bringing Kevin Huerter and Danilo Gallinari off the bench, and Lou Williams off the bench. You have 3 very, very solid offensive players off the bench. So when it comes to offensively, I mean, when the Hawks catch fire, they're very hard to beat. And I mean, we see offensively the Knicks just aren't there yet. So let's get into our next series of the day. We'll briefly talk about the series because I don't think there's much to talk about. Sixers versus Wizards.
Honestly, we don't even have to talk about it. It's a mismatch,
Yeah,
Russell Westbrook. It was a great story, great emotional win for the Wizards fans. They fought hard to get into the playoffs through the play-in or whatever, but we knew their season was going to come to an end as soon as they got out of the play-in. Westbrook and Bradley Beal only have so high of a ceiling, especially when the rest of their team is, mediocre at best.
Yeah. I mean, just talking to the Wizards for a second, that roster is so bad. Besides Westbrook and Beal, it's so bad. I mean, I just checked the score now. 87-69 Sixers are up. They have an 18-point lead. That's going to be a sweep. I don't see the Wizards stealing a game. I mean, Westbrook has 27-7 so far. Bradley Beal is 17, 3-3. They're combining for more than half of the team's points. And I think Russell Westbrook sold the Wizards front office hope. I mean, I think they're going to keep that Westbrook and Beal tandem and try to build, I guess, a somewhat decent team around the two.
I'm not even sure if they're going to build. I think, the Wizards are just content with not being terrible. That's what you're asking for when you trade for Russell Westbrook. You're not going to win a championship with him. You're just going to be in that probably 7 to 8 seed range and, make the playoffs every year, maybe get out the first round. But it's not going to go much further than that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the Wizards adding another wing in the offseason, but I mean, I think they're going to bank on Thomas Bryant getting healthy, and just bank on more internal improvement from Rui Hachimura, Daniel Gafford. I'm really disappointed with the way Bertans has been playing throughout the season. He's been a huge disappointment considering they signed him to, I think,
0, 0, 0, 0, and 0 and 6
that's
pounds. Yep.
that's the new 000 meme. To Tony Snell is safe. But yeah, they signed him to like a 4-year, $80 million extension. I was hearing so much Bertans over Duncan Robinson stuff. Complete bullshit. Bertans has proven to be a huge overspend by the Wizards. And yeah, I mean, that's not really much else to say with the Sixers Wizards series. I think Tobias Harris played very well so far. They're going to need him to step up, especially when playing the likes of either the Nets or the Bucks. But yeah, that's pretty much it to talk about. Ben Simmons is doing his thing. Joel Embiid's been doing his thing. He's been abusing Alex Len and Robin Lopez like we all expected. What I mentioned the Nets, let's use this as a segue to the Nets Celtics series. The Celtics surprisingly took game 3. I thought that the Celtics were going to take one of the first 2 games. They took game 3 instead, thanks to a Jason Tatum 50 piece. That's not going to happen again, I don't think. That's Nets in 5, really. I'm not really expecting much else from the Celtics.
Not only a Jason Tatum 50 piece, but Marcus Smart scored 23 points on 70% shooting. Evan Fournier had a great game. Yeah. He hasn't been playing well this season since he got to the Celtics. So, the Celtics got pulled out. We know what Jason Tatum stands for, how great of a scorer he is, how great of a talent he is. But I don't think the Celtics don't really have a chance. Kyrie had his worst game probably in all year. Those Boston fans look like they got to him a little bit. He only had 14 points and didn't shoot well at all. Yeah. James Harden had a great game. KD had a great game, but Joe Harris was missing his 3-point shots, which is not something that you think is going to happen again. So the Nets should be able to close this one out in 5 and get on to the next series. I think they'll play the Bucks, right?
Yeah, but the Bucks. That's going to be a fun series.
In the second round, that's interesting.
I mean, I think. You think the Bucks are a more complete and better team than the Sixers?
Yeah, definitely as of right now.
I mean,
with what they just did to the Heat,
yeah,
definitely.
And so speaking quickly on that Bucks and Nets series, which we all expect to happen, I think that I would be more comfortable with the Bucks if they had Dante DiVincenzo. Of course, it was ruled yesterday that he would be out for the rest of the playoffs. They lose some defensive versatility with that, but that's going to be just a phenomenal matchup. The Bucks still have just so many great defenders with Giannis. They have Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton's a pretty solid defender. So it's really going to be interesting to watch, especially because the Nets do have their defensive struggles, how they're going to choose to guard Holiday, Giannis. I think Brook Lopez could be a tough assignment for the likes of Jeff Green.
That's a series that Giannis should average 30 points a game because they don't have a defender for him at all. But Giannis in the playoffs, he has a history of underperforming, so we'll see what he does.
We'll see. We'll see. Moving on to the next series, let's talk about the Jazz Grizzlies series, which is tied up at 1-1. Ja Morant obviously had probably the best game of his career in game 2, despite the loss. He had 48 points, I want to say, right? 47 points. He played amazing. He's another great pick and roll ball handler. I saw something the other day that I actually agreed with the more I thought about it, that compared Ja Morant to a much more athletic Tony Parker. The more you think about it, the more I actually agree with that. We're really starting to see Ja Morant add a lot of finesse to his game. He's really just a crafty finisher. And I think people really discredit how crafty he actually is. They just see his dunks, they see his athleticism, and they kind of just portray him as this John Wall, Russell Westbrook, just ultra bouncy, ultra athletic, straight line driver type player. When he's not, he's tremendous in the pick and roll sets. I really like what the Grizzlies have done to fill out the rest of the team with Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson. Obviously, they need to make some moves in the offseason, but I think they have a pretty solid team as is right now that will continue to grow. Seem to have a little audio difficulties here. There
Yeah,
we go.
and I'm not saying that Ja Morant is better than Russell Westbrook right now, but like what you said about his playmaking,
Yeah.
Ja Morant is up a underrated playmaker in this league because Ja Morant is a better passer than Russell Westbrook ever dreamed about being. And I don't care what anyone says. Russell obviously will have
Wait. Well, you're saying John Moran is a better passer than Russell Westbrook
at any point in his career.
at any point in his career.
The passes that Ja Morant makes are higher. He reads the game at a higher level than Russell Westbrook does. Russell will always have the higher assist number because his usage is so through the roof, and he's running
Yeah.
pick and roll about 50 times a game. And Ja doesn't have that because Dylan Brooks is going to take some time off the ball. Kyle Anderson will handle the ball a little bit,
Yeah.
but Ja, the passes that he can make, how high level they are, how good of a lob thrower he is, his skip passes, left hand, right hand. Ja Morant is a top 5. I'd say top 5 passers in the league.
Really?
Top 5 to top 8.
Wow.
Most definitely. And then, with his scoring, he's getting that floaters becoming automatic. And once he gets that shot down, there's really going to be no way to stop him, especially if they get another All-Star on that Grizzlies team, which I'm not sure how they are because no one wants to go to Memphis. But, if they do, it'll definitely be a scary sight if Ja has another All-Star level player beside him. And we see what he's doing in the playoffs. We see what he's doing to Rudy Gobert, he's mainly a paint scorer, and he's going at Rudy Gobert. Just so you see when he got blocked, despite I think that was a big play for the whole Grizzlies team because they're not scared of Rudy Gobert.
They're not.
You saw the game when I believe he was playing the Spurs when there was like 3 different players about to go up for a layup and they saw Rudy Gobert and they passed it out.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies have no fear of Rudy Gobert at all. And, if they want to win that series, that's what they're going to have to be. They're going to have to foul him out. They're going to have to get him in foul trouble. And, we saw Donovan Mitchell come back and be Donovan Mitchell. There was no rust. He came straight back into the playoffs, hit an and 1-3, had a great first quarter and just came out and just set the tone early. They're the better team, so they should be taking care of business.
Also, we haven't talked since this prediction that you made. You said, you know what I'm gonna say. He gave a guarantee for the Warriors of the Grizzlies. He said Warriors in 7 of the Jazz, and we never got a Warriors Jazz series. I said Grizzlies. Just saying, Anyways, no, and also with going back to the Grizzlies before I talk about the Jazz, we have to look at the internal improvement that I think Jaren Jackson is going to make. I really like Jaren Jackson. I think he provides so much spacing to that Grizzlies team. I think he's a growing defender. He's very mobile, and that front court with him and Jonas Valanciunas, I think, has a lot of potential, especially with the way Valanciunas has been playing as of late. So we'll have to see how that goes for the rest of the series. Just speaking on the Jazz real quick, I feel like even though the number 1 seed, they have, and I believe they have the best record in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've had the best overall record so far in the NBA, and I feel like they've gone under the radar even. I mean, yes, we've seen in the playoffs before Rudy Gobert get played off the courts just because of his inability to switch on defense. But the Jazz have guys, man. They have Donovan Mitchell, obviously. But then off the bench, they have Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Derek Favors. They're deep. We'll have to see. I think they'll end up defeating the Grizzlies in 6 right now. That was my initial prediction. I'm gonna stick with it. I think they'll get out of that series in 6. Really, really curious to see that second round matchup between the Jazz and the winner of the Mavericks Clippers series. It's going to be fantastic considering how good of an offensive team the Jazz are. So yeah, we'll see. All right, so for the last series we want to talk about, we're going to discuss the Blazers Nuggets series. We both haven't watched that much of the series, but from what I've watched, it's been a really cool matchup between the Nuggets front court of Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, between the strength of the Blazers, which is your backcourt, obviously, with Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Norman Powell. So Matt, what are your thoughts so far in this series?
We're really seeing how much the Nuggets are missing Jamal Murray, which I honestly didn't think they would, because how the Nuggets been playing this year with them having the MVP, the Trailblazers have been hurt. I expected them to, kind of dominate this series and for them to show for Jokic to show why he's the MVP, which he has been. I saw a stat. He's the first player since Michael Jordan to score 30 points on 50% or higher shooting through his first 3 games in the playoffs. So he's doing his things, but they're just letting him score. Like, they're not letting Jokic be Jokic. He's not getting others involved as much. I think in the first game one he had 1 assist, and his assist total has just been really low throughout this whole series. So they're not letting Jokic be Jokic or turn him into a scorer, which I think, it's clearly working for them. And, game 4, he didn't have a great game. Neither did Dame Lillard, but, the Trailblazers role players just came to play better than the Nuggets.
Yeah, and you just have to think theoretically, or hypothetically, excuse me, what the Nuggets would be able to do in the playoffs if they had Jamal Murray. They looked fantastic before his injury, and they still look pretty good. The Nuggets still have pretty good guard depth with Monte Morris, Frank. You have to remind me on his last name again, the pronunciation of it.
Facundo Campazzo.
There you go. Him. We've seen Marcus Howard. I was a huge fan of Marcus Howard when he was playing with Marquette. He's really started to come on for them a little bit. And yeah, it was more of a what if. I think the Nuggets will run it back next year and have a terrific season. But their championship ceiling definitely has obviously it's taken a hit with the lack of Jamal Murray. And yeah, we'll have to see the rest of the Nuggets Blazers series. It's been a fantastic series thus far, tied up at 2. This Nikias Duncan was talking about this on Twitter. This looks, unless there's like a major injury, that this is going to 7, which I completely agree with. They both been playing each other so competitively. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So, before I wrap up the pod, just this little quote I want to read to you guys, to my fellow Heat fans and whoever else is interested. Jimmy, this tweet was provided by Brady Hawk of 5 Reasons Sports. Jimmy Butler on voicing his opinion this offseason. He said, in quotes, "I got to be active, be myself, Bam, probably Tyler, some other guys as well. Whoever we get the opportunity to play with, we got to go out there and compete." I just found the probably Tyler part kind of funny, and we'll see. We'll definitely be talking a lot about the Heat's offseason plans. I'm gonna make a video with you in the next few days, kind of just reviewing the Heat season more in depth and just giving a short little preview for the Heat's offseason. So that's gonna be it for today, guys. A little bit of a longer pod, just discussing the NBA playoffs thus far, which have been so exciting, so fun to watch. We'll come out with another pod probably next week, kind of giving a preview for round 2 and whatnot. So yeah, just a reminder, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment. If you're on one of our various podcast platforms, such as Spotify and Apple Music, go leave a good rating. That'll be much appreciated. With that being said, we'll catch you later. Peace.